Thank you for joining us on Overcoming Objections in the Ministry. And we have had a lot of events on the news regarding young people and gun violence death. And this particular one was a mass shooting involving young teens. And so you're going to be getting a lot of questions from young people. You're going to get a lot of questions from college students, young college students, asking the questions about, about life and meaning, and questions about, what happens to folks when they pass on from this life. Some of you may have gotten those questions already. Others may be having questions in regards to, what is guaranteed, in the next phase of life once this life is gone. So, I bring this to your attention so that you can do one or two things. You can help broach the question to a young one and see how they feel about it, or wait to be asked. I would, if you see a young person there, bring it to their attention, because I see young people being slaughtered on the news more time than I want to look at. Whether it's, brother and sisters, gunfire, or domestic violence incident where there's gunfire and a child is taken. This may be the only opportunity, because of the rapid changing of the system, to reach out to this individual. Now, you may not be that one all to start and finish, but you can plant seeds here. This is an opportunity to plant the seeds so that if someone else comes along, when they progress to college, you'll be able to finish or start planting some seeds along the way until hopefully they are approached again before anything happens to them at this point, right? Because this is the circumstances that we are living in. So, what kind of question can you ask a young person that's not so traumatic, but yet cut to the core of what's happening to them? And I think the best question is what do you think is happening to young people in gun violence, or any type of violence today? Do you have any viewpoints? And I think that's the best question to ask, because it's not too personal. You're not asking something that's emotionally rigged to a specific event, but you're keeping it general enough so that they can answer the question, and just wait for the answer. But at the same time, you're going to be listening and also praying that their responses and the question you're going to developing afterwards is right on par. So you're listening, and you're praying all at the same time, and actively listening, right? Don't be so preoccupied on what you're going to say, but actively listening so that you'll be able to be planting the seeds and basing it on a foundation that will help that individual for a few moments or a few seedlings that you have with this young individuals. So what if the person says, it's terrifying, I'm scared, I don't know what to do, I can die any moment, and I don't know. It seems like God don't care? I don't know. So what is your response to that? And this is very important, because you need to question that. You need to question that God does not care. You need to say, is do you think God really don't care what happens to you? Why would God create an earth, oxygen? You can't live on the moon, um, and not care. And something like that will get them to know, okay, well, why is it happening then? You know, and why are we dying? You know, and so this is your another opportunity to get them into the scriptures. So your next thing would be, do you mind if I share a text with you? And you have plenty of texts that you can show them. You can show them John 3:16, which shows that God loved the world so much he gave up his only begotten son. Or you can share the scriptures in Isaiah chapter 48 verse 17 and 18. Or you can share the scriptures in Proverbs. With young people, Proverbs is the best book, because young people get to learn that relationship with Jah as someone who needs to learn the wisdom and knowledge of Jah. So with young teens and young adults, Proverbs is the best book to go into, because you can have a whole lengthy discourse and discussions just in the books of Proverbs, which is what we consider the book of wisdom, and have a full discourse. But make sure that the discourse is getting them closer and closer to forming that relationship with Jah Allah. So, for example, one of the things that person said was really profound is, if God cares about us, why are we dying? What's going on? So, the scripture I like to share with young people, and it's Proverbs chapter 10. And this is thought-provoking for a young one. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 1. Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son is the one that makes a father rejoice, and a stupid son is the grief of his mother. And you can also say this also applies to a daughter. Does the scripture make sense to you? Just ask a question. Does the scripture make sense to you? And why? Tell me in your own words why. Well, they can say, I guess. I mean, come to think about it, most of the gun violence is done by men, by dudes. So yeah, that's right on the money. Yeah, and how do you think God feels about that? That's another thought-provoking question. How do you think God feels? And give them time to answer that question. And normally, the normal response is, well, he's not doing anything about it, but I'm pretty sure he's upset. So, this is where we can show another scripture as to how Jah feels about those who are put on this earth, who are there and don't do nothing. And I want to share with you Isaiah chapter 56. Actually, that's Isaiah chapter 59. Because people think God don't care when bad things happen on the earth or on the neighborhood or in their homes and in the streets. And I think this is a very important scripture when it comes to gun violence or any type of violence that is going on, that they understand this is not happening in a vacuum. So there's people who are supporting this all along the way. Isaiah chapter 59 verse 15, and the truth proves to be missing, and anyone turning away from badness is being despoiled. So that let us know that the good people who are trying to do good are being harmed. Okay? So try to break that down for them. And Jah got to see, and it was bad in his eyes, that there was no justice. And when he saw that there was no man, he began to show himself astonished that there was no one interposing. And his arm proceeded to save for himself, and his own righteousness was one thing that supported him. Then he put on righteousness as a coat of mail, and the helmet of salvation upon his head. Furthermore, he put on the garment of vengeance as raiment, and enwrapped himself with zeal, as if a sleeveless coat. In accordance with the dealing, he will reward correspondingly rage to his adversaries, due treatment to his enemies, and to the islands he will recompense due treatment. So based on these scriptures, do you think Jah Allah is happy with the circumstances of mankind? You can ask that question. And a person will reasonably say no. And you can also ask, why was God surprised or astonished in the scriptures? And the person would reasonably say, there was no one there to help stop it. Right. So what you have to understand is when Jah made this world, Jah made people who took on governance and to make system of laws, and that it was their responsibility to teach others about the law and to keep the law. But there's too much lawlessness all around us. Now, we found out a little bit what God's going to do about it. But for the meantime, most of us don't know what God wants us to do and how to stand up for justice. Most of us don't know this, but it's in here in the text. Would you like to know more? And that's how you introduce your card with your Google Voice, your Gmail, and your name. And I would like, and then follow up, because this person may be a minor. I like to follow up with your guardian to see if you like to learn some more. And leave that up to that individual to reach out and connect with you, because that individual is a minor. The individual may or may not reach out to you, but because of what's happening, they may reach out to you on the news and on wherever they get their information from, whether it's TikTok or whatever. It may be that there's a gun violence on that street where that individual is coming home or going to school, and they'll reach out to you, because that's the nature of what's happening nowadays. So don't pass up young people. Don't think it's complicated because you have to involve a parent and have them sit on the Zoom calls or on the FaceTime while you're having this discussion. Consider it an opportunity that that both of them can learn at the same time. The focus is always on the teen, but if the mom has a thought, she can bring that thought and have another session where just you and her can talk, or you and him can talk, right? So that's the most important thing. But because stuff is happening so much rapidly for the young people, you have to make an active focus to address the issue with the young people and get their thoughts and get them immediately into the text as if it was SOS. So I want to leave that thought with you there.